Welcome to Freethought Radio. I'm Laurie Gaylor.
And I'm Dan Barker, your friendly neighborhood atheist. This is the weekend of November 6 and 7, 2010. Next week on Freethought Radio, we'll feature a little retrospective on FFRF's 33rd Annual National Convention. There were 700, I think more than 700 of us heathens and infidels on Halloween weekend. And in a minute, we're going to play some remarks that were made at the convention last week, including some surprise remarks. But we're going to start with a video that the Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Barbara Lawton recorded as a welcome to the convention.
And it's the first time a state executive of this rank has prepared a welcome speech for an FFRF convention. And it did get Barbara Lawton in some hot water. And so
you'll see why many of us in Wisconsin are proud of our currently seated Lieutenant Governor.
Good evening, and welcome to Wisconsin. We're delighted that you decided to hold your national conference here in Madison, Wisconsin. I have to say that my decision to welcome you caused a bit of a stir, and we've received many phone calls and emails, and this is the response that I gave to every one of them. First, let me provide context. Whenever I am asked to provide an official welcome for national conferences held in our state, whether it's the Society of Plastic Industries or the American Legion or the Freedom from Religion Foundation, I do my best to accommodate the group if possible. And then I told them, both of my grandfathers were ministers, Protestant ministers, one from a family that were early settlers in this country, and the other a 20th century immigrant from Norway. And my father served as an Air Force pilot in World War II, flying 34 missions over Nazi Germany, only 19 years old as he began his service. The freedom of expression of my grandfather's faith and the constitutional protection that ensured that government would not encroach on their ministry allowed them to answer their calling to the fullest. And my father repeatedly risked his life to preserve the integrity of this democracy, where a clear line between church and state is maintained. All of them were patriots in the most profound ways, and I work as Lieutenant Governor to honor their legacy. Satisfied some of them, not all of them, but let me begin by saying that I'm proud to be with you, even if it's only virtually in some sense. But I decided that I would be of greater use in Colorado this weekend as a counterweight to U.S. Senate candidate Ken Buck, who in his own words said he strongly disagrees with the concept of the separation of church and state. And coincidentally, I will be engaged in the celebration of pagan Halloween traditions with my grandchildren. In these days before the election, we are awash in novel interpretations of the U.S. Constitution, and I ask, where is Thomas Jefferson when we need him? He was an articulate believer that no good comes to the Commonwealth if government can judge prohibited conduct, tax policy, or social programs based on religion. Jefferson would also like to remind us of Article 6 of the Constitution that prohibits a religious test for office. And interestingly, not one of the 6 first presidents of the United States was an Orthodox Christian. Instead, today, as in 1800, when Jefferson was condemned for being, quote, an atheist in religion and a fanatic in politics, today religion is used too often as a weapon to bludgeon good people seeking the opportunity to serve their country in elected office. I maintain that my faith, or not, as an elected official, is not a topic for debate. Politics is about the dignity of daily life, about government's necessary role in ensuring the essential civil and human rights that define a free people. And government exists to provide a clear framework for ethical behavior. I am frustrated by the unearned self-righteousness of certain elements of the press, both mainstream and new media, and other political figures who cynically, with the deepest of cynicism, use other people's faith as a political football to secure their own narrow special interests. We need to ask different questions about those who would lead our state and nation. We must ask, are they committed to contributing to a healthy democracy and to observing the principles that will sustain it? We need them to promise intellectual honesty and debate of the issues of the day, and we should expect a fundamental understanding of the constitutional framework within which we all operate. And despite U.S. Senate candidate Christine O'Donnell's confusion, the Constitution is clear on the separation of church and state. And I have always been profoundly grateful to this organization for so thoughtfully and thoroughly policing that border that separates church and state. A press person asked me if I would be here if I were running for office this year. And I answered that I would like to think so. And were it not now an absolute physical necessity for me to be with those grandchildren, I would be here personally to greet you and to welcome you to Wisconsin. I hope you have a very productive conference. I hope you find time to enjoy this beautiful part of the state of Wisconsin. And I thank you all for your good work.
That is Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Barbara Lawton welcoming FFRF's annual convention in Madison, Wisconsin. And we also had a surprise appearance by U.S. Congressman Pete Stark by video, accepting an Emperor Has No Clothes Award, which is the statuette that FFRF reserves and offers to public figures who make known their dissent from religion.
So we should go right to that video, I think.
Hello, I'm Congressman Pete Stark, and I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but I want to thank you for the Emperor Has No Clothes Award. I can't tell you how excited I am to be in the same league as George Carlin. More importantly, I want to thank all of you, along with the leaders of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, for the marvelous work you do. Due to your efforts, many people have the freedom to exercise their beliefs or non-beliefs, as the case may be. In 2007, the Secular Coalition for America sent members of Congress a survey about their religious belief, and I answered that I didn't believe in a supreme being. Within a week, I had 5,000 responses from around the world, almost all of them favorable, and those that weren't favorable were very kind. I have never been had such kindness directed toward me by people who disagreed with me. I'm also pleased with the support of my colleagues in Congress. Imagine when Mike Huckabee was asked on national television about my proclamation, and he said he was proud to live in a country where people could say what they believe, as I did. Thankfully, we're moving in a direction where some feel it's not an act of courage simply to state that you don't believe in God. The work of the Freedom from Religion Foundation is helping to make this possible, and your legal battles have helped keep us from taxpayer subsidies for religious schools, for the distribution of Bibles in schools, and your continued legal work in that area is essential. Keep up the good work. We must continue to speak out, be honest about our beliefs, continue to exercise that freedom of conscience, and I guarantee that every day each of your representatives in Congress hear from the teabaggers who take their cues from Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. Make sure that your words are heard as well. It's because of the wonderful work of organizations like the Freedom from Religion Foundation that we're able to continue our progress. Thank you. Thank you for the delightful award, and all of you be well.
And that is United States Congressman Pete Stark, representing a district in California, accepting the Freedom from Religion Foundation's Emperor Has No Clothes Award. During the convention, we showed a number of the billboards and bus signs that are going all over the country.
Now, so for related news, FFRF did place 10 billboards in October in Flint, Michigan, and we have some coverage from ABC TV there.
Well, Election Day is less than a week away, and it is hard to miss the political ads popping up around town.
One campaign in Genesee County is getting attention not because of any candidate affiliation, but because of its anti-religious message. ABC 12's Candace Burns joins us in the studio now with that story. Candace?
Angie, there are a handful of what some would call controversial billboards in Genesee County. The campaign was sponsored by a national church-state watchdog group. They say they want the government to follow the Constitution, but their message is offensive to some. Driving through Genesee County, it's hard to miss them.
The sign says God and government, a dangerous mix.
I think it's a little misleading.
Billboards with an eye-catching message.
I'm not really sure about the foundation that is funding the billboard.
The signs were put up by the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
I want to get out that separation of church and state is in the Constitution.
The group is made up of about 16,000 atheists and agnostics nationwide.
I've proved to myself that there is no God.
Their goal is to get local and federal government's attention, and voters too.
It's not supposed to be in government. They've been doing it for a long time. Nobody said anything.
While many agree the constitutional principle is important,
keep church church and government.
Some say the billboard's messages are a stretch.
I think we're letting too many, a very small amount of atheists control what people believe in.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's political correctness gone too far.
Others feel they're simply inappropriate.
They need to be taken down. When we get rid of God, we're in trouble.
It's a constitutional issue. Big time.
The Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting to get the National Day of Prayer ruled unconstitutional. A federal judge in Wisconsin agreed with their case, but it is being appealed. The signs in Genesee County are scheduled to stay up through October.
So did you catch this woman saying they need to take those signs down? And this is a recurring theme around the country when there's TV coverage of most of our billboards, and it's hilarious almost because there's always someone there who say they shouldn't allow those signs to be up. And then one guy in Arkansas said they shouldn't even be allowed to have an organization. So, you know, we are not a theocracy. We're not a totalitarian state. That's what you would expect in Iran, you know, that this idea that you don't even have freedom of expression or First Amendment rights if you're a non-believer. That's what we're fighting against.
Did you notice, and I like this, how she said that our billboards were eye-catching? They're very attractive, they're very pleasing, and they're...
Who's she? You're talking about the anchor?
The news anchor, yes. She's the eye-catching billboards around town.
Well, they are eye-catching, and there was, we debuted in Flint for the first time a billboard that has a very eye-catching photograph of JFK, John F. Kennedy, saying that I believe in a country where the separation of church and state is absolute. And that was very eye-catching, and we'll be taking that around the country as we get support from members and listeners for FFRF's billboard campaign, which is highly educational.
Did you notice how that one guy was commenting about how can a very small group of atheists control what everyone else is thinking? You know, political correctness gone too far, as if a couple of free speech billboards are actually telling people what they...
10 billboards in Flint, Michigan, and the world is ending.
Yeah, well, I mean, what kind of insecurity is that? You know, their churches and their steeples and their crosses and their billboards and their messages and their
24/7 religion on the radio
and television and
compared to our, you know, 42 minutes on the airwaves.
And this guy, and you know, once in his entire life, he sees one billboard that he doesn't like, and he thinks we are trying to control everybody's thoughts.
And there was an interesting coverage. We probably ran it out of Tulsa. Where one of the women had written into the station and said she was so offended because she said, I thought we were in the Bible Belt. How can this happen in the Bible Belt? Well, that's very cool that we are infiltrating the Bible Belt. And as far as I'm concerned, all of America, in some respects, is a Bible Belt. We have 45% of the population believing that the Bible is either literally true word for word, or if not, is the inspired word of God. And then another high percentage also thinking that it's, you know, this is our source of morality.
So
that really does make the whole country the Bible Belt, but there's a lot of us who are trying to fight that and to promote the Enlightenment, the ideas of Voltaire and so on. They need to be back in charge in this country. So.
What did your mom used to say about these people's reactions to, like the insecurities of people who couldn't stand to hear another point of view.
Well, the Lord of the Bible has a very uneasy vanity, and so do his followers.